Hello and welcome back to Election Time News Canada, your one-stop for political summations, poll reviews, non-partisan predictions, interviews, and compilations of other political forecasters. Today is Monday, March 31st, 2025, and today I'm going to be going over the Canadian federal election, of course, taking place on April 28th. So, as I went over in my previous video, the Liberal Party has had a comeback over the past 3 months, going on 4 now, of increased polls, continuous growing polls, and since that video, that has continued. If you look at the polling data that came in after that video, for the most part, the lead has gone from 0.4% and continued upwards and is now at 3.3%. The National Democratic Party has dropped from just under 12 down to 9%. The Quebec bloc has gone from 6.4 to 6.2. Not that much of a drop, but still noticeable. Green Party from 3.8 to 3. And the People's Party is sitting at 2.2%, with others from 1.4 down to 1.1. Individual polls, we actually have a poll that says the Liberals are determinably in the lead here. Margin of error 2.5%, 5-point margin. That means that the Liberals could be at 39.5. That's actually 4. I can't count. Somebody's worst case scenario would be what? That would be a 3. 1.5 point lead for the Liberal Party. You actually have 2.4% margin of error with 2 points. That means that it could be a 0.4% lead for the Conservative Party. So there's quite a few polls here. They're weighted based off of the efficiency of their method as well as the sample size, which correlates to the margin of error. So then we have continued growing support for the Liberals. Now, CBC has a 71% chance of Liberals winning a majority government, 19% chance of Liberals winning a minority government, 8% of a conservative minority government, and then 1% or less of a majority conservative government, which has been continuing to drop. You know, the maximum, which is a 90, which largely takes into account 95% of plausible outcomes. 163 is the maximum for the Conservative Party. So even then, this 1% is going to be an overestimation there. 163 projected is 189 to 126 to 23 to 4, which is a huge drop down from their current standings here. The New Democratic Party currently has 24 seats, and they won, which they all won at previous election. They're on track to win 4. Green Party is going to lose one of their 2 seats. People's Party 0, Other Party 0, Quebec bloc down to 23 from 33, which is going to be another drop there. And the Conservatives are going to go up to 126 from 119, and the Liberals are going to surge to 189 from 152. That is a huge growth in the 2 main parties, which means that Canada may be moving towards a 2-party system. We're now going to be looking at some individual things here based on 338. This is basically Canada's version of 538. And they also have some federal level polls here, projected 192 to 125. They appear to be a bit more bullish on the Liberal Party here. And they also have actually an 89% chance of a majority Liberal government, 10% chance of a plurality government, minority LPC government, and less than 1% chance of any Conservative Party government being run there. With the vote projection, it's flipped since, of course, very mid-March, and the seat projection will have flipped since mid-March as well. Winning the most seats flipped between the 9th and the 16th, and the election outcome, the most popular one became a plurality for the Liberal Party by the 16th, and then by the 18th, it was a majority. So it happened very, very quickly because of how quickly stupid ads. How quickly even a small popular vote margin can change the overall election. The fact that their popular vote has gone up so quickly here does really show how the populace has changed, and also it continues to be almost running away. So what we're seeing now, we're going to move on to the map here. And we've seen starting in the east and then going towards the west. So the first competitive riding here that we're going to be looking at is Cumberland Colchester. Now, I might butcher a few of these names, so if anyone does have the proper pronunciations of any of these, make sure please tell me in the comments. That would be greatly appreciated. So Cumberland Colchester, this one is one of many that is currently held by the Conservative Party. The question is whether it'll hold on or not. Currently, it's a toss-up. However, it's 62 to 38, so they have it as an odds of winning as of yesterday, 62-38. The Conservatives won it with 46% of the vote in 2021, and transposed on it actually was a flip from the Liberal Party. The Green Party collapsed with their support in the 2021 election. It went to the Conservatives, it looks like, based on that. So we actually then have the Liberal Party expected to win and get a bit more. They've basically been holding a lead for only the past week or so, so it's definitely close. So, but there is a lead for the Liberal Party there that can't be ignored. So that will go tilt for the Liberals in Cumberland Colchester. Next riding is going to be Acadianapolis. This one's going to be in a toss-up as well. 59-41. This one's actually even closer. This one's been basically holding on the whole time. The odds of winning actually were higher for the Liberals back in the about a week ago, and then it's actually kind of dropped a bit since then. This would be a flip as well, but the fact that the odds for the Liberals have kind of dropped a bit means that there could potentially be beating some sort of some sort of movement going on here, or potentially that it's just not moving as much with the rest of the country. But there is still a Liberal edge there, a slim one. So that is going to go tilt for the Liberal Party. Next is going to be the CPC leaning riding of Fundy Royal. This one, all four of these right here are currently held by Conservatives, but they're probably only expected to win a few of them. They're most likely actually going to lose Miramichi Grand Lake. That one actually is going to go lean. There's actually not much to talk about on that one. Fundy Royal is leaning 74-26, actually. It's almost likely. The Conservatives are actually growing. So for that reason, actually, I do have this one likely on my own map here, just because their chances are actually growing, even as the Conservatives' odds have generally nationwide been declining. St. John, St. Croix, the same sort of thing has been going on here. It was a drop and then it went back up. However, it's not close to as strong, so this one's only going to be tilt for that reason. It's only very, very slim margin here that they're working with, and they don't have much space to lose. But at this point in time, they're still doing well. Another strong one, it's continuing to grow here. This one's going to be lean for the Conservative Party. They're doing well in Tobique. The odds of winning dropped a bit, but then they started going back up again. So again, we're predicting we're not doing a nowcast. I'm doing assuming what most likely will happen on election day based on changes in how they've been going. So next up we have Montmorency, which is going to actually is now likely. It's been getting more, and it's been getting stronger and stronger for the Conservative Party since I originally made that map. It's actually versus the Quebec bloc. The Liberals are very, very unlikely to win this. But okay. But it's probably because it's giving me all these ads. The Conservative Party's actually been growing again. Most likely, I'm actually going to put this one in likely as well, just because the Liberal Party has been taking away from the Quebec bloc, which was the #1 opposition to the Conservative Party, And so now that they're taking it away from that, both of them are going to perform worse. And because there's no ranked choice voting, that means that it's going to help increase the overall margin for the Conservative Party. So that means that they're going to probably be able to walk away with that win, which is going to be anything they can get at this point based on the overall control here. Now, also, for this one, the popular projection, the exact same thing is happening. So I'm actually going to put this one in likely, even though it only categorizes it as lean. But for the exact same reason, it's just a little bit behind in the popular vote projection, but it's the exact same thing is happening there. The Liberals are taking away the support from these third parties, and actually there, the support for the third parties is enough that it's actually not going to help anyone other than the Conservatives. Abitibi here is actually basically a toss-up race, but it just went to the Liberals, but the Quebec Bloc is right behind, and the Conservative Party is actually starting to regrow again. So there's Liberal Party actually just took the lead here, 52-44 according to 338, but again, those odds are very, very close. They just took over here. The Conservative Party is just finally starting to get in here with any chance, but those who would have to be low on the low end of possibility, and the Conservative Party have to be on the high end. But based on these trends continuing, most likely, assuming that these trends will continue, that means that the Liberal Party has a slight edge, albeit narrow. So that's going to be tilt for the Liberal Party there. Now we're zooming into all of these cities and regions in those sorts of areas, these densely populated regions. We have to zoom way on in on this little map here. Wait a minute for it to load. Okay, so now we have St. Hyacinthe. So this is going to be a St. Hyacinthe is likely on this. Now it's down to leaning, most likely due to there's going to be collapse of the Quebec Bloc support here, so that's not going to help much of anything, but the chances is still 75-25. I don't think this one's necessarily at much risk. It's just, make sure to keep a watch on that one, as I made this map, it was likely back then, but now it is down to lean on their projections. Next up is Shefford. This one's actually now moving up to likely from lean. The same sort of thing is happening. We're seeing popular vote projections shifting from the Quebec Bloc to the Liberal Party, which means that just means there's going to be more of a chance for them to end up winning that one. The Quebec Bloc lean here. This is going to be, again, another one of those sorts of things. I'm actually going to put this in as tilt for the Quebec Bloc, just because if things keep on moving how they are, then that's really not going to look good for the Quebec Bloc. They could lose a lot of support in this region, and so for that reason, I'm actually going to leave it there. Saint Jean is actually might be Jean. Saint Jean, Saint John. If anyone knows how you pronounce that, I'll look that up real quick after the video. But the Quebec Bloc is losing support quickly, so based on that, I'm going to still give them the advantage here, but I'm going to give it tilt just because of how quickly the chance of winning according to them is collapsing. Same sort of thing here is what I can expect would be what's going on here. It's not as pronounced, but the chances are still dropping very quickly for the Quebec Bloc, so they have 3 right here that are all at risk. So they're going to need to definitely be campaigning in these central urban regions to have much of a chance of being able to pull this off. La Pointe is going to be on that one. 20-point lead for the Bloc, but it is continuing to plummet. So this one I'm going to put in as lean, just because they have a bit more of a lead as far as that goes than some of these other ones. But it is still dropping very quickly, and they should probably be a bit more careful on more what they're getting at there. So that's going to be their problem as far as that goes. So that's going to be lean there. We're going to then move on to the LPC lean district of La Prairie. So that one's actually 79%. It has been growing there. I think this one actually I'm going to put in as lean for the Liberal Party. It has been, likely. I mean, likely for the Liberal Party. It's just going off of growth patterns and stuff like that. There's one of the 2 NDP seats right here. I'm going to check in on that real quick and see how it's doing. It is still likely, but their support may be dropping very quickly as well. I'm going to get these 2 out of the way. These 2 siblings right here, if you will. Repentigny is 51-49, very, very narrow. I'm actually going to give this one tilt to the Liberal Party because their support is still probably growing in that region, and so they'll probably keep going as well. And same sort of thing here. They just took the lead for the popular vote projection by 338. So that is most likely what's going to be going on down there. And then we also have, where's this one? Because I can't. Is it like St. Louis? No. I can't necessarily find these based on the bodies of water because it's not very clear where they are. I can get the general shapes. It's just not helping. It should be right there, but there it is. Yep. Okay. Now it actually says LPC likely here, so that has stepped up. It has continued to grow. I'm actually going to put this one down as safe, because if those patterns continue going whatsoever, I'd say it's probably close to over a 90% chance of a Liberal Party victory there. Continuing growth in the outer island regions in that similar region. Le Pays is probably another sign of growing support there. Continuing, this is another symbol of the growing support against the bloc. Just growing support for the Liberal Party again. That's going to be another lean Liberal district, which isn't necessarily anything too strong. LPC likely now in Kannada. That is going to be continuing against the Conservative Party. I'm actually going to put this down as safe. The growth is continuing towards the Liberal Party there as well. So the trends are looking good there. Bay of Quinte is going to be next. Now this is looking CPC leaning. They're continuing to stay strong. I'm actually going to agree with 338 on that one. That's going to be lean. But if this holds up, if this stability holds up, then it'll probably go likely because it looks like that it's not going to continue to trend towards the Liberal Party like quite a bit of the rest of the country is. Now, the Conservative Party is right on top of the Liberal Party here. It is neck and neck. So I'm actually going to leave this one as toss-up. It is so close in Peterborough that I really can't give it a rating right now with any fairness whatsoever to anything. So I'm going to leave that as is. So now zooming on into the central Toronto region, we're going to get into Markham, which is now LPC likely, which is another sign of one of those ones that is continuing to grow against the Conservative Party. I'm actually going to put this in as safe just because of that continued growth. At this point, it's basically not much. Actually, there is a bit of overlap, but not really enough there. There's also going to be LPC likely here. I'm going to agree with that. This one's going to be toss-up, so I'm going to get back to that in a minute, but we're getting back here likely for this one as well. And you also have York Center, which is going to be another likely one. You have another one, Eglinton Lawrence, and Lakeshore. So all of those are going to be likely. You're getting a lot more officially strong support again for the Liberals in those regions. Now we're going to get to King, Vaughan, and Milton East. So in King, that's a toss-up. The Liberals are coming back, but the Conservatives are still holding on to a strong lead there. So that is going. I'm going to put that in lean Conservative just because that growth has slowed and almost completely stopped. So I'm not necessarily sure that that's going to end up that is going to end up materializing into a Liberal victory. I'm not sure they're going to be able to take over in the end. Now, otherwise, this one is a continued growth against the Conservatives. Is this southern region down here in Milton? So that looks like it is starting to run away from the Conservatives completely. This is a seat they might have been able to win back if an election was held in January. Hamilton Center, this is another one, toss-up. The NDP actually, I believe, won this seat twice. This is one of the ones that they have lost. The Liberal Party has actually taken this one from the NDP. I'm going to put this one in as lean, primarily because there is still technically a chance that they have the same ideology, so it's not a battle of ideologies. So they could, in theory, switch their mind between those two parties, or it could just be strategic voting. So then you end up with Niagara Falls. This is going to be a toss-up between the Conservatives and the Liberals, but the Conservatives are holding on here. I'm actually going to put this one in as lean Conservative just because they are managing to hold on and their growth has slowed and almost completely stopped. There's definitely still a chance that there could be an upset there. So now Niagara South, it's the exact opposite. The Liberals have just pulled ahead, but then again, it could come roaring back. So for that reason, I'm going to have it in as tilt Liberal, which means you actually have the Niagara region, which is right over here, Niagara in New York, right over there. Is actually a bubble of the Conservative Party in there. So then we're going to get into the area around Waterloo and Kitchener area. We actually have the leaning Green Party district here, Kitchener Center. They have actually been growing against the Liberals, interestingly enough. I actually do have this as likely here, so that the Green Party does actually have at least one seat in this, in my map, as far as I have right now. Kitchener-Conestoga, this is going to be a likely seat. They continue to be growing against the Conservative Party here as well. You then end up with Kitchener South, and then you actually have Cambridge, which has been growing. I have that one as safe just because of those trends in that continued region as well. The Liberal Party support has been continuing to grow, so I do have this one now as likely as well because of those continued growth patterns in that region. Then we have the last three competitive ones over here. This one's actually, London West is actually now going to go likely. I agree with that assessment from 330 here. London Fanshawe is actually going to be a tilt New Democratic Party seat. This one is collapsing quickly, but this is going to be one of the ones that they're really going to campaign in. Meanwhile, the Liberal Party has lots of other seats to be working on. So we are not even 1/4 of the way done campaign season. And so the New Democratic Party is going to have a lot of time to be pushing in on this seat. They're going to want to hold on to this one for their dear life. Meanwhile, the Liberal Party is just going to be pushing for plenty of other seats that they can take from the Conservative Party. They're not going to have as much against them. So if anything, I think that the New Democratic Party will use every funding advantage they can to hold on to that seat. And as of right now, it appears that things have been slowing down against that. So there's, in theory, a chance that they could end up winning that. So Windsor West is going to be the next one. This is another New Democratic Party seat that is actually most likely going to flip here. This one is another one that I could potentially see the New Democratic Party holding on to, but the popular vote projection, the Liberals have really just pulled ahead here, and so now it's going to be a tilt seat. They could potentially end up pulling in another win, the New Democratic Party, but I don't see much going on there. So now there's quite a bit of a majority of the nation done, but now we're going to have to move in here into Nipissing. So we have a few more, only about 24 ridings left. So moving on in here to, let me zoom out more and get a better picture we're looking at here. Okay, so alright, now we're going to need to look in at Nipissing. So there we go. All right, and LPC likely. So this one's gonna be another one that's gonna have grown. I'm actually gonna put this one in as safe. It has it at 95%. I'd say that's fair enough to actually put that in as safe at this point. This map's actually changing enough that I'm probably actually gonna need to keep updating it somewhat regularly. So that's gonna be quite a bit fun. Kapuska Singh is leaning, but that one's actually getting stronger and stronger for the Liberal Party. The New Democratic Party's support is collapsing there. It actually, I believe this was a new, it was a New Democratic seat, but now I do actually have this as tilt Liberal. Not going to be too strong support there, but as of right now, it appears that it's better than no chance there. So I do actually have that as tilt. Next is going to be Thunder Bay, which is a fantastic name, actually. And so in Thunder Bay, there we go. All right, and LPC likely, which I agree with. It's continuing to grow and almost going to be in the safe territory, but the growth has slowed. So in theory, that could be a sign that's going to start turning around soon. We'll have to watch that a bit closer before we can make any analyses. There's 3 in here next. I'm going to have to zoom nice on in there. So we actually do have 2 New Democratic Party ones, but there's unfortunately not going to be much for this. So the New Democratic Party's actually been building back against the Conservative Party. I actually have this one lean in Elmwood because they've actually been fighting over this seat for quite a bit, and I do think that they may end up on top. But depends on what cycle of those waves we may end up with. And then Winnipeg Center, again, we're having that sort of thing, but this one's actually a lot closer, so this one's actually going to be tilt. But that's still 2 seats for the New Democratic Party, and this one's actually going to be between the Liberals and the Conservatives. This one is neck and neck. I'm going to leave that one as toss-up just because it is so close at this point in time. That one's basically as close as you can get in a riding. And then you have Churchill up here. I'm going to call it Churchill. The Liberals are actually losing ground against the New Democrats, but I'm going to have this one as tilt for the Liberal Party because they do still have that advantage there. And I'm not necessarily going to just go and say that it is disappearing, but it has not gone yet. So next is going to be Nunavut. 53-47. The New Democrats are actually gaining, but not by much. It's neck and neck. I'm going to put this one in as tilt for the Liberal Party. It's going to be a close contest there for sure, but that's not necessarily going to be anything insane. So Regina Wascana is going to be the next one I'm going to do. I'm going to have to move over to it on the map once we get this loading. All right, so that is the wrong area. There we go. All right, so Regina Wascana, toss-up between the Conservatives and the Liberals, and we have a slight growing Liberal amount there, but the Conservatives still do have the advantage there. I'm gonna have that lean Conservative at this point in time. That's another one that I'm definitely gonna have to watch because that's more of like a sleeper flip sort of situation in there. Zooming in on Calgary, we're gonna have a few things here. We're going to need to get over here. We randomly have the likely Liberal seat. Calgary Center is very, very tight right now. The Conservatives have actually grown back, so I'm going to actually put this in as a tilt Conservative seat for right now, but that is basically neck and neck. CPC leaning for Calgary Confederation. However, they're actually losing a bit of support, not by much, but this is going to be lean for the Conservative Party here, almost likely just because of how large of a margin that is, but it is now dropping again, so I don't want to, speak too soon. And then, of course, moving on to Calgary Skyview, we then have 54-46. That is going to be a tilt margin for the Liberal Party. So then we're going to move on up over to the north, up towards the outskirts of Edmonton, and we can now see there's actually another New Democratic Party seat. So there we have the LPC leaning Edmonton Southeast. This is going to be a growing support for the Liberals as well. It's going to be a lean margin there, and then we actually have all of these are going to be CPC leaning, and this is actually a toss-up. So all of these are basically going to be more conservative leaning seats where actually you're seeing a conservative rebound. So actually I'm going to be dividing these up here. This one's likely, this one's lean, likely. As you can see on the map here, this one's actually dropping, but this one's actually dropping a little bit narrowly though, but on the west one, it is staying somewhat stable. And then if you look up in northwest, and then we're gonna go up to Edmonton Manning, in northwest, it's also staying somewhat stable. So that is going to be a likely margin there, and then in Manning, it is also staying stable, and it's relatively strong, bordering safe. There, it's more of an outer region, and then you have Griesbach. That's going to be going up against the new new Democratic Party. So then we have a 3-point lead there, and it's going to be a tilt margin. They're growing against the new Democratic Party, so actually I meant lean. If my computer's going to work here for a minute. All right, there we go. So lean for the final one for that one. Then moving down over to Kelowna, that one's going to be more of a toss-up one. That's actually going to be CPC leaning now. It's been dropping a little bit, but not by much. I actually have this as likely just because based on these current trajectories, it's probably not going to continue for much longer. They're going to continue campaigning in those sorts of regions. Now getting down towards the southwest corner, Victoria, I do have as likely, but then we have Esquimalt. Esquimalt going to be toss-up, but the Liberals are continuing to grow at this point, so I do actually have this as tilt Liberal. And then moving over to the northeast of Esquimalt, we do have Saanich Gulf Islands. So Saanich Gulf Islands, 53-29. The Green Party is actually doing somewhat well here, but LPC, I do have this one actually as tilt Liberal as well. So we're going to have to put that into that tilt categorization. We're going to zoom in to the central urban region around Vancouver. Okay, zoom in a little bit. Here we actually have another toss-up seat between the Liberals and the New Democratic Party. This is a current New Democratic Party held seat, and so their chance of winning is continuing to drop as their vote share is getting narrow, but it's starting to slow. So I actually am going to put this in as a tilt New Democratic Party seat here. That is going to be the very, very narrow toss-up between the Liberals and the Conservatives here, but the Liberals are continuing to grow, so I'm actually going to put this one in as lean as well. Moving in towards the southeast, next up we're coming up on the on Langley Township, Fraser Heights. The Conservatives are actually continuing to shrink here. They do still have the advantage, though, but based on that, I actually am going to have to put this in as tilt Liberal, just because if these trends continue whatsoever, at any small point left, we're going to have it's going to flip hands. So we do end up with a conservative strength one here. This is going to be tilt Conservative. If anything continues here, then the Conservatives are going to lose their grip on that. But as of right now, they do still have the lead, and that absolutely counts for something. And then up to the northwest of there as well is closed over, but looking at South Surrey first, the Liberals are continuing to grow there, so that is actually going to be likely for the Liberals in South Surrey, White Rock. And then in Cloverdale, Langley City, we actually do have the same sort of thing happen. I'm actually going to give this a tilt liberal lean, even though the Conservatives currently have the advantage there. It's probably not going to be for much longer. And only 4 left, and those were the ones that I gave based off of this. This one in Winnipeg was literally right down neck and neck, and the same thing in Peterborough. So there's complete categorization. I believe that Beauport, Quebec, Quebec City. Pretty sure I went over the entire thing. I looped over it multiple times. Quebec, come on. This thing is driving me insane. So that's over near Detroit. So there we go. So Beauport. I might have missed this one. Now that I do think about it. Beauport, CPC leaning. It's actually growing, which is great news for the Conservative Party. I actually do have it in as likely. I'm going to put this in as likely just because of that. And in South Quebec, there actually looks like there is one that I missed, really, really tiny there. So that would explain that to me a little spike, looks like. That's up to the north off over here. So it's going to be like, oh, there, I think there it is. Yep. Trois-Rivières. So finally, this one, we actually do have the Quebec bloc is continuing to lose support here in favor for the 2 more main parties. And so we're going to see it is actually going to stay tilt conservative because they are actually continuing to see support, even though their margin against the Liberal Party is staying strong. So based on all of that, we finally end up with our total 192 seats for the Liberal Party, which actually is going to be right where they have their number, 192. And theirs is actually only at 189, but based on those, we have 192, which is more than enough for a majority government, and the Conservatives would build an opposition, but it would most likely need to have some members of the Liberal Party that would be defecting of some sort. So based on that, this looks great for the Liberal Party of Canada. So thank you so much for watching. Again, if you know how to pronounce some of these names, if you have any insights, I am still learning a lot about Canadian politics. I have all the basics down, but the more intricate ins and outs of, potentially some minute polling practices, information, stuff like that, please do let me know in the comments. And thank you all so much for watching Election Time News. Remember, there's never a dull moment in politics. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a fantastic rest of your day.